If you want to, have dreads or have piercings or tattoos, like, do it. You shouldn't mold yourself according to that. You should have your own boundaries and limitations for yourself, and you should stick to them. Be yourself. Like the modeling industry, where you have to keep a very straight face, and the pageantry industry, where you have to smile a lot, actually get pressured into those situations.
Welcome to Red Talks with Advisory Window. I got something special guest with me today, Yuri. Yuri, before just introduce yourself, I will give you a chance to introduce yourself. We got to play the checker games as well. First thing I want to know about from you is, what's the most hardest decision you made in your life? Or it could be the turning point on your life, or the best decision you made. Before the answer, I will make the start as well, and you can join me the checkers game, and also we would love to know about that.
Okay, so the hardest decision I have made in my life would have to be around a situation 2 years ago where my mum actually passed away after...
Sorry to hear that though.
It's okay. After dealing with a brain disorder for 5 years.
Right.
So at the time, I had to grow up very fast. I was in like early 20s, having to make a decision whether I continue living my early 20s life, or I put that on pause and be there for my mum. And in the end, I did decide to be there for my mum.
Right.
But watching her deteriorate and watching her not be able to achieve all of the things that she wanted to achieve in the rest of her life has sort of made me the person that I am today, which is why I push myself a lot more, because she never got that chance to. So the entire experience has sort of shaped me as who I am.
So that's a very selfless decision you made, actually. And it's a good one, actually, going to be a, great kind of like a role model, If someone thinks about the same, like, should I just be there or be there? I will suggest that Yuri did something great. So tell us about Yuri, who you are. We don't know. Tell us about, so I know you are a modeler. What else? Please, you can start I don't know when was the last time you played the checkers? Yeah, that's right. So, how long you've been living in New Zealand? You're originally from another country, isn't it? So
so I moved...
We would love to know how that happened. Why did you move here?
I moved from South Africa to New Zealand 17 years ago, so I've been here 17. A long time. Yeah, and that was mainly because of crime.
Right.
Yeah, so the crime in South Africa is really bad.
Still, those days?
It's much worse now.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a beautiful place, and I'm not going to say that it isn't. But the crime did get so bad that a lot of South Africans have moved to New Zealand recently because they want to give their children a chance at a better life.
Can't blame for that, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what made you to move to New Zealand? It's also the crimes and all, you didn't like it there, that's it?
Yeah.
So 17 years ago you moved here, and then if you turn back, you happy with where you are now?
Yeah, I absolutely love New Zealand. It's the freedom. It's something as simple as just being able to walk on the street with jewelry on.
It's true that.
And be able to feel safe doing it as well.
As a woman, like, you feel more secure.
Yes.
So that's a plus in New Zealand.
Yeah.
Right. So say 17 years ago you moved here. How did you start? Like, what did you do like before? Now today you just work full time as a modeler, or you do other jobs. So if you're happy to share, we would love to know what you're doing here.
I'm a little bit of a jack of all trades.
Yeah.
So I do work as a dog groomer,
Right.
as a pet nutritionist, and I'm doing a tattoo apprenticeship as well.
That's a lot you do.
Yeah, so I absolutely love organizing and scheduling. I have
Right.
my own like planner.
Yeah.
So I do like 2 days for each thing, and then I will schedule in fashion shows and rehearsals in the evenings or over like the weekends.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you just manage, that's how you manage the timings. Actually, we should have to talk about planning, how important the planning in life actually. But before we move into that, like, tell me, like, because I would love to know more about modeling. What are the biggest achievements you've made so far in modeling?
Okay, so I started 3 years ago.
Right. Not very long ago, isn't it?
No, I
Yeah.
haven't been doing it for too long.
Yeah.
And I've been lucky enough to work with some incredible photographers. So I've done, recently I did the ID Fashion Week in Dunedin.
ID Fashion Week, yeah, in Dunedin, yeah.
That was massive.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
that was huge.
That's good, that's great to hear.
I have done London Fashion Week.
Mm-hmm.
I did the Pacific Fashion Show in Paris.
Great.
Yeah, I've done photo shoots in LA.
Yeah.
I've also been in Vogue Italia twice.
Good on you.
And I also do quite a lot of pageantry
Right.
too. So I'm currently Miss Petite New Zealand and Miss Glam New Zealand. So I was lucky enough to travel to El Salvador last year.
El Salvador.
Yeah.
So you've
to
been traveling a lot, isn't it?
Yeah, especially with COVID and it having, put a pause in all of our lives.
Yeah.
Now that things are sort of getting back to a state of like normal, kind
That's
of. I really want to travel a lot more as well and explore the industry overseas.
Yeah.
Because when I was running around like a headless chicken last year,
Yeah.
I realized that the overseas industry is such a different ball game compared to New Zealand.
Compared to New Zealand. That's something I wanted to ask, but you already gave me the answer though. Because New Zealand, we all know that it's not really a big market on many industries though, but especially modeling. How challenging it is, like, I know you guys like doing a big thing to bring that up, as an industry.
Yeah.
So what kind of support do you get from the Kiwis? Like, because you're from South Africa, did they really help you, or
Yeah.
you had any personal experience that someone discriminated or like things like that, we all get. What kind of support? Yeah.
Oh no.
Your movement actually.
Oh, yes.
Safe fans. So, you think the Kiwis are helpful, or what do you think about
So
them?
it's a bit of both.
Right.
Because I have experienced the pros and cons, like being on both sides of the industry. So I'm not actually in with any agency. Like I'm completely an independent model.
Yeah.
Independent artist. And that's because I don't meet the height requirement mostly. It's usually like you have to be 168 centimeters or 175 centimeters, and I'm quite short. But it's not just that. Like I also look the way I look. I have a very particular look that can't often be like molded in other ways that is required in the modeling industry. So
Right.
And I have tattoos, and I have piercings. So these things like sort of limit me as a model, but they're also things that haven't changed in the modeling industry as yet.
Right.
But I'm not saying that there isn't changes being made. They are. It is getting there. It's just taking a while. But in saying that, that's also my strength in the industry here. Because I've only had my successes because people think I look unique and I look different. Whereas if I try and attempt it back home as well, I would look too weird, or I might be judged for having dreadlocks,
Yeah.
you know, or I
Yeah.
might give off the wrong impression having tattoos and piercings. So it's a bit of both. Like where in some situations I can be judged for how I look, for the most part I am accepted and embraced,
Right.
and creatively taken on board for me.
That's right. So it's like not really 50-50, but the key is like you had a better experience, I believe, isn't it? Like quite supportive way. That's good to hear. One more thing before we had to have a break actually, but one more thing I want to know, say, if someone who's willing to move to New Zealand, that what do you think? You recommend New Zealand? This is a good place to live? What do you think?
I do.
What's the most beautiful thing you see in New Zealand, and what's the worst thing in here?
Aside from, you know, how beautiful the country is, I do think the people are actually quite lovely. I think very easygoing, very good to talk to. It's a much slower pace here in New Zealand. I know I definitely had to, when I moved over, sort of like learn how to relax a bit more and actually enjoy life. And you are provided with those things in New Zealand. No, you can go for hikes. If you want to go for a beautiful walk, you know, it's just down the road. You know,
exactly.
And if you want to take up, you know, dance classes, or you want to do circus arts, or you want to do this or that, like there's so many opportunities in this country
you
to
can
do
switch
it
easily.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably the best thing, is the opportunities, and is being able to be in nature and have the ability to relax and calm whenever you want to.
What's the worst thing in New Zealand? Money.
I would say living costs.
Living costs.
Particularly in
recently,
Auckland.
especially, isn't it?
Yeah.
Agree with you though.
Yeah, I think the living cost with rent, with food, with gas prices,
fuel,
it is
everything.
all really expensive. And for me, coming from South Africa, I mean, that is not a huge price to pay given how it was there, and we couldn't even walk on the street.
Yeah.
But I think people moving to New Zealand, like my family, weren't expecting how expensive it was going to be.
That's
here.
right. Because 17 years ago should be completely different, but I agree with you, nowadays the inflation goes up. Let's talk about more, but we had to have a break. We'll be back. This is Red Talks with Advisory Window.
ගෙදර යාන වාහන රක්ෂණය කරගන්න සුහදශීලී තැනක් හොයන කෙනෙක්ද? හොඳ ව්‍යාපාර රක්ෂණයක් ගැන විස්තර හොයමින් සිටින කෙනෙක්ද? මේ හැමදේම ගැන නොමිලේම උපදේශනයක් කරගන්න සම්බන්ධ කරගන්න. Advisory Window. අපිට ළඟ අපේම කෙනෙක්.
Now Yuri, there's a saying like, don't judge the book by its cover. I don't know how far you would agree with this, because example where I came from, mostly in my country, that people just judge from the outlook. Like, say simply like with your appearance, if you just go there, that somebody would say, oh, that could be a draggy, or that's a gypsy, whatever, you know, try to, you know, insult sometimes. What do you got anything to tell about that? Have you had any experience like that?
Yes.
Yes?
Yep, the first impression of me is always that I'm a Rastafari, hippie, you know, that I...
Rastafarian kind of,
yeah, exactly. That I might be a dropkick or irresponsible, or maybe I party too hard, or, you know?
That's right.
It's only when people get to know me and speak to me that they realize that, well, actually she's very, very like work driven, you know, like quite the opposite. Yeah. Actually.
But it takes time to, you know, but straight away when someone sees that you agree with that, some people judge.
Yeah, and people always ask me, you know, like in social situations, they're always like, oh, you vegan? I'm like, no, no. Or they say, oh, like, do you do yoga? I'm like, no.
What is yoga? What is yoga?
I look like a hippie, but I'm not a
Yeah,
hippie.
not a hippie, yeah, that's right. So that happens even in New Zealand.
Yeah.
It is there.
Yeah.
Right, okay. So don't judge, but you will judge.
Yes.
So say simply that somebody could turn around and say that about modeling. This is just put some clothes on and just learn about the catwalk, and that's modeling. Somebody could say that. What Yuri had to say about that, how big this thing is, what sort of sacrifices you had to do to come up in this far. Please tell us, like,
Yeah, it's not.
is that simple to just like put a t-shirt on and all, or what is it?
No, it's really not. It looks very simple from the outside, but there's so much that goes on behind the scenes. I mean, you start from a whole lot of like personal care upkeep on the daily.
Yeah.
You know, then there's also one of the most important things about modeling is posture. You know, so I actually walk around the house with a book on my head.
Just on the top of the head, and that's it. Right.
Yeah. So posture is everything in the modeling industry, and you have to. It's the way you walk. It's like the way you kick your legs, the way you stand, the way you hold yourself. So that's the most important thing when it comes to the walk. And then when it comes to actually breaking into the industry, that's all networking. You know, especially if you're not tied to an agency like I am. It's all about getting yourself out there. So for me, it's like I talk to a lot of designers and brands and photographers and makeup artists and special effects artists. I'm constantly
A lot of other parties there, right?
Yeah, so constantly getting in touch and being like, hey, I'm a model, like here's my portfolio, like if you have any jobs upcoming, just let me know. And that's every day.
Everyday thing.
Sit, whenever I pretty much join all of the modeling groups, like on Facebook, on Star Now, and I keep an eye on it every day. So whenever there's an opportunity, I jump to it. So there's that, but then there's also the stress of it all as well. So
that's another question I wanted to ask, but you're reading my mind. I don't know. So yeah, now you carry on. So yeah, there's stress as well there. Yeah.
It takes, for me, it takes like all of my energy. I put it all into that walk in front of all of these people. After my walk, I don't want to talk to people.
It's definitely not for an introvert, right?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, so after that, I just want to, don't look at me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going home. Like, put a hoodie on and go home.
Yeah.
You know, because it takes a lot for you to put all of your energy into that one performance.
Exactly.
And while I was traveling overseas, you know, I was doing pageantry. And pageantry is a different ball game. Because pageantry is 7 days of like doing your makeup, being in heels the whole time, photo shoots, smiling the whole time. And what actually happens to the girls
Whether you don't
is
like, you had to smile. Okay.
It's funny because between like the modeling industry where you have to keep a very straight face and the pageantry industry where you have to smile a lot, it's very different. And I had to jump between the two. But a lot of the girls, you know, would end up with blisters on their feet. You know, they were wearing earrings
Heavy
the entire
earrings,
time.
yeah.
The earlobes started like bleeding as well. It's
never knew that, to be honest. Okay.
yeah, and a lot. I know it's getting a lot better, but you know, some of the girls still really like watch their weight and watch what they're eating. You know, and exercise a lot and limit themselves in that way as well. Definitely changing, because now there's the whole body positivity movement. Yeah. But there's still a lot of like eating disorders in the industry as well, and needing to stay quite slim.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
So that's lot of things. It's not just simple like that, isn't it? You talk about the stress, so what do you do? How do you just manage your stress? What do you do? Anything special you do to manage it, or you just don't care? What do you do?
In my spare time, going back to the fact that we couldn't just go for a walk in South Africa, I love to walk here.
Yeah.
So I love
But
to
you
be
do a
in
lot of
nature.
walk even on the pageants. You still go for a walk?
Yeah.
That's a different walk, isn't
Yeah.
it? With the nature or something.
Yeah. So with nature, it is like for fun, and I love being in nature. I love going to the beach and like sinking my toes into the sand and feeling the water, and that calms me down a lot.
Right.
Aside from that, I love to sing and play guitar.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, so that's, I probably like do a bit of singing and play guitar like every evening, even if it's just for like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how you just manage your stress. What about the friends? Like, do you think the friends are important in life? What do you think?
Yes, absolutely.
Why you say so?
It's
So you got
really,
a lot of friends, do you?
Yeah, I have more like
You don't
a
know
closer,
whether they are real friends or not. Yeah, maybe.
That's another big question.
Yeah.
But I would say a closer knit of really good friends.
Right.
Yeah, instead of having a lot of
A small circle?
Yeah, definitely. And the great thing about having really close friends like that is, you know, you can always rely on them for support and to be there for you if you ever need it. There was a time in my life, like especially after like mum passed away, where I put everything into my career and I didn't do any sort of socializing at all. And when you do that, it deteriorates like your self-happiness as well as your career as well, because having friends is also another way of relaxing and being able to talk to them and gain other perspectives is really important.
That's right.
But also, like, they are the people who are going to like motivate you, and they're the people who are going to advertise you the most. You know, so you having your friends also means that like they're going to help your career, but they're also going to help your happiness. But it's really important just to have a good balance between
Exactly.
it all.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, having the balance, that's the word I believe. We actually slowly coming into the end of the program, as about we have a couple of segments to go and want to have the other break. But if someone thinking about to be a modeler in the future, give a couple of advices. This is how you just should prepare yourself. These are the 2-3 things you know do. You might have tips to share.
Yeah.
If you're happy to share the tips, I mean.
The most important thing to me, and this is probably a message that I'm trying to promote when it comes to modeling, is be yourself. You know, if you want to, you know, have dreads or have piercings or tattoos, like, do it. Like, I know there are limitations in the industry, but you shouldn't mold yourself according to that. You know, and quite often you'll see with a lot of girls, they'll think that working with anybody and everybody is going to, you know, get them far. No, that's not true. You should have your own boundaries and limitations for yourself, and you should stick to them.
Right.
You know, the problem with the modeling industry sometimes is that, you know, around the whole like nudity and doing glamour and boudoir and that sort of stuff, and a lot of girls actually get pressured into those situations. I've been
So you mean like there's a dark side of...
Yeah, so
Okay.
I mean, I've been asked to do stuff like that, and you know, they always say, oh, but that's the best way to further yourself in the industry. That's not true. You don't need to sacrifice like your own beliefs. Just because you think that that's how you're going to excel.
Message, yeah.
You know, and if that's something that you want to do, that's fine, but it needs to be what you want to do. At the end of the day, like, it's the most important thing to me to promote that uniqueness. Like, you should be able to become a model out of your hard work and your determination, but being absolutely true to yourself.
Right. So as a woman, like, this is a safe place, you think that to be a model in New Zealand, you're still safe? Like you said, there's a dark side of it, but
It's for the
how
most
you rate
part.
it, like the safe guys, out of 10? What's the safety rate you give for a woman? 8?
9?
That's a pretty good.
I'm gonna say, like for the most part, it's good.
Yeah.
And for the most part, like a lot of photographers are amazing and great to work with. There are only a few that ruin it for everyone else.
This is always there, isn't it? Always there.
Yeah.
So let's have a quick break and we'll be back. This is Red Talks with Advisory Window. Oh, you just trapped me there. Yuri, you put me on trap in here, but I'm trying to escape from that. I will move this on here. That will save me for a moment. Actually, Yuri, we came to the end of the program, actually. I didn't feel the time gone quickly, though. I wish if we have more time. So what we do here is that we have 2 segments. The first one called Red Wish. I will, actually from the program, we will give you an invisible power. You could think about this power is the biggest power in the world, more than the Prime Minister's powers in New Zealand.
Yeah.
If you get kind of like a power, you could use this for anything you just want to make this world a better place. So if I offer you that power, what Yuri gonna do and why you gonna do that? We would love to know.
I would love there to be.
You can use this for anything you like.
Like more accessibility and more opportunities for children to follow their dreams. You know,
Right.
without money being a obstacle. Because there are a lot of dreams. Like there was.
Why you say so? Like.
Because I wanted to be a pilot.
When you were little, that was your ambition, okay?
Yeah. There was a time I wanted to be a pilot. I've done a few flying lessons.
Oh,
actually,
great! Yeah.
But it is very expensive, and if you don't,
Of course it is.
if you don't have that financial support, like from family to do it or some other way, then it is really difficult to pursue that dream.
Exactly.
And I want dreams like that to be made easier, you know, for kids to be able to follow it. You know,
Right.
It's the same thing with breaking into with following music. You know, getting into the music industry, that's also quite a money-driven industry.
Right.
If you have family that can, you know, push you into it and have all those contacts, then that's really easy. But for the kids that don't, you know, they need to work 100 times harder.
Exactly.
You know, so I want there to at least be, you know, a little bit of help.
So you're going to use that power to support the kids who have to achieve their dreams.
Yeah.
In financially or any other way,
Yeah.
you're going to use that
Because
power.
I live my life like a Disney quote, basically.
There you are then. Yeah, we wish you all the best if we have a power like that one day. I hope Yuri will, you know, look after the kids in this world. That's a nice one, actually. So we came into the last segment of the program, Yuri. This is the guest advice. We learned a lot from your, you know, the journey on modeling and other things. You gave a couple of nice tips and some advices as well. But as a whole, Yuri's best piece of advice for all the viewers we have, whoever watching us, what is the best piece of advice of Yuri's?
I'm going to say it would be yourself.
Be yourself.
Be completely yourself. Be genuine. Be kind. And have the determination and the perseverance to follow your dreams.
Beautiful. I think that's a good one. We would say thank you very much, Yuri, for taking our invitation and joining us today. But we won't send you empty-handed. There's a place called Grand Ceylon. So the Grand Ceylon offered you a voucher for access the buffet for 2 months with another person. You can take another guy.
Would you like to go?
I would love to actually. So thank you, Grand Ceylon, for this, and this is yours.
Oh, thank you
so with
so
2
much.
guys, you can enjoy the buffet for 2 months.
Thank you.
And
I love food.
Also, you love food. That's for you then. And also, we want to say a huge thanks to Advisory Window, who just supporting us with sponsoring us and give this place and everything. So thank you, Nisank and Shehan from the Advisory Window. We will see you in another program like this again. This is Red Talks with Advisory Window.
Thank you.
Let's carry on the game. It's not finished actually, it's your move.